right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome for those of you just hopping in. We are going to go ahead and get started. So glad you are all here. We'd love to know what institution you're zooming in from, if you don't mind sharing. You can throw that in the Q&A box. We're just sort of curious. But we just wanted to say thank you for joining us. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the aspects of our Summer Scholars Program. And then mostly we want to answer questions you might have. So this is an opportunity to ask us questions, get clarification, anything that's on your mind about the program. I should introduce myself, I guess. I am Betsy Prueter. I'm the Director of Programming at PMPI. I also run our Summer Scholars Program, and I'm joined by my colleague, Aalyhia Shillow. She is currently our Operations Associate, and she is one of our most recent Summer Scholar alums. So I'm really glad that she's here because I think she can answer any questions you have from a very recent, very real, very relevant experience. Oh, I see someone is zooming in from Wisconsin, California, Maryland. I love it. We've got some Midwest, some East Coast, some West Coast representation. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Throughout the next few minutes, while I review some aspects of the program, you are welcome to put questions you have into the Q&A box. That'll be the easiest way for us to track them. We'll have some time after I go through my slides for questions, but if you have them and they're top of mind, please feel free to just pop them in there at any point. Okay, so I've introduced my colleague Leah. So we're here just to talk to you about a program we both really care a lot about. Wanted to start with a little bit about the Post-Secondary National Policy Institute and who we are. We are a small nonprofit. We are based in Washington, D.C., and what we do is provide professional development. We are passionate about education, about continuing education, and we provide trainings, we provide resources, we help build capacity of current and prospective federal policymakers who work on higher education issues. So it's a relatively niche field, and yet it's a really important group of folks who need access to researchers, who want access to research, who want to get good training, who want to think about how to best design policies that serves more students. So we produce and sponsor and host briefings, boot camps, seminars. We have a leadership program. We have, of course, the Summer Scholars Program. We create and produce and write resources for our website. We try to highlight up and coming researchers in the space so that policymakers can see who's out there and get access to new voices and new thinkers. So we do a lot of PD. That's really our bread and butter. And partially why we started the Summer Scholars Program was to just help get more people into this space. We want to diversify pipelines. We want to bring students to DC and into federal higher education policy that have experienced some of these higher ed policies, that maybe have received Pell Grants, that have navigated the student loan system, that have navigated repayment perhaps, that have experienced barriers and challenges to access and affordability, because those conversations are only richer when there are students who have experienced these policies in the room having those conversations. So that is really who we are and what we're all about. This program in particular wait a second. We started this back in 2016. So this is going to be the 9th year of our program, and it's just still amazing to me that we've been doing this for 9 years. And again, our goal was to help diversify the field, and we wanted to bring in students. We wanted to bring in folks who could potentially face barriers to interning in DC. DC is an expensive place, and especially 9 years ago, a lot of internships weren't paid. And so what we wanted to do was eliminate every single barrier there could be to getting an internship in DC and just immersing in the policy experience. And we'll talk about some of those benefits in a minute. And then we also wanted to help really policy-minded, talented students see themselves in this space long-term, right? To think about themselves potentially as working as a policymaker on Capitol Hill, working in the executive branch at the Department of Education, doing research at a think tank, right? We want to help make those connections and help folks feel like that is a space where you are needed, where your expertise is needed, and where you belong. And all of us on the team at PMPI love this program and feel very passionate about it. And so summer is really a highlight for all of us because we get 2 new folks to join our team. So you may have seen some of what we're about to go over on the website, but just wanted to hit a few points for everybody. We have transitioned post-pandemic to a hybrid experience because we found it worked really well. So the first 2 weeks of the program are going to be remote. That is when we're going to focus on training, on orientation, on sort of connecting with the team, getting a sense for your summer projects. That's going to be the big focus for those first 2 weeks. And then the remaining 8 weeks will be in person in DC, and the dates are up there on the screen. So we found that creates a really nice balance. We will talk more about that, what that in-person aspect will look like, but please note that during that remote time, you would have to have access to an internet connection. You'd have to have access to your own device to log in and have a space to work from. But then we take care of all of that once you get to DC. And again, this is for undergraduate and or graduate students who are interested in higher education policy. There's not a special profile of a summer scholar. It's folks who are interested and enthusiastic and engaged and want to learn. Okay, so each summer looks a little different and has looked a little different over the past 8 years. And so we'll customize a work plan as best we can to what you might be interested in. But our summer scholars have done things, they conduct research on topics that might be, we get a request for some research on, or a project that we're working on internally as a team. And a lot of the internship is about attending events, going up to the Hill, watching a hearing, going to sit out, observe a panel with policy thinkers and influencers about federal student aid, for instance, watching a webinar, hearing about some latest research. So there's a lot of that kind of work that's actually, I think, a really fun part that you get paid to do. There might be some preparing resources as we put together events or seminars or trainings for congressional staff. There's a lot of meeting and greeting of other policy leaders and networking. And I think Leah could probably talk a little bit about that in a minute. But that is, I think, probably what we consider the core of this program, is that you are coming to connect with as many people as we can connect you with, to learn about their paths, to learn how they got there, what advice they have, hear about their jobs, and really start to get a feel for where you might see yourself down the road. So a lot of your week would be meeting people, having coffee, jumping on Zoom, whatever works for folks, and just getting a sense for how they show up in this space. And also, I can't emphasize enough how much our scholars feel like part of our team. We are a small staff at PMPI. There are 5 of us. And so 2 new people over the summer make a big difference. And we really try to include folks as much as we can on just the day-to-day aspects of our organization. And again, there's more because it can ebb and flow with what's going on. There are other projects. Scholars have helped us develop databases. They've helped expand our comms work. So scholars who are really interested in research have really dug into some data for us. So it kind of depends on what you would all want to get out of the program. But these are just some highlights of the kind of work you might do. All right. Again, this is on the website, but wanted to reiterate some of the eligibility requirements. This is important. This is a grant funded and donor funded program. So we are making sure that we align ourselves with certain requirements. One of those is that you have to be enrolled in an accredited college or university as a rising or current senior undergraduate student or a graduate student. You can be full or part-time. You will need to submit proof of enrollment, which is usually a transcript. An unofficial transcript is completely fine, but we do need to have that documentation. You have to demonstrate financial need. So this means if you're an undergraduate student, you received a Pell Grant in your most recent semester. If you're a graduate student, you have to demonstrate Pell Grant eligibility, which we can talk a little bit about, but essentially that means what your student aid report from your FAFSA what kind of expected family contribution or student aid index. I know the FAFSA is changing fast and furious now, but just have to show a certain income threshold for graduate students and show us that you received a Pell Grant as an undergrad. We are not looking for a particular major or field of study, truly, but we are interested, or we want to know that you're interested in post-secondary education policy. But we've had majors, I mean, political science, education, biology, believe it or not. There have been a really wide range of majors who have applied for the program, and we think we're wonderful fits. But what we're looking for is, are you interested in policy? Again, I mentioned this before, you need to have a working computer, laptop, internet access, and a workspace. That should say just for those first 2 weeks. So you do need to make sure that's available. And then when you're in DC, we provide you with a computer, space to work, all the things. It's 32 hours a week. We do build in some time off so it's not a completely full typical 40 hours a week job, so that you can immerse yourself in DC, explore DC, and also connect with, the other scholar or other people that you meet. We're looking for some really excellent communication, writing, interpersonal skills. So much of our work is writing, talking to other people, engaging, facilitating. So those are going to be key. We are a fully remote team now. So we are looking for someone who, can work independently, is motivated to get things done, even if they're not in an office setting where someone's checking in on them all the time. We communicate a lot. We connect quite a bit. And it's really important that you feel comfortable in that kind of environment, because it should be a good fit for you as well as for us. And then we do give priority to applicants who live or attend school outside of DC and or who have never previously interned in DC. Our goal for this program, again, is to bring in people who haven't had access before. And so that's really important to us. So the deadline's there and it's everywhere. It's coming up just in a few weeks. Quick review of the benefits we provide. So, you work with us and our work with federal policymakers. We have what I believe to be a competitive hourly wage. We also provide housing while you're in DC and transportation, meaning we will give you a Metro card so that you can take public transit, either the subway or the bus to and from work. We provide all office supplies, work materials you'll need. We send you to so many events, including PMPI events, and if any of those require funding, we provide that. We send you to a lot of professional development, going to just spending your summer learning and meeting people. I can't emphasize enough. And then we love to have our scholars involved in shaping the program for the next summer. So every summer, you have an opportunity to shape the program for the future. So we have made changes and adjustments and added things and taken things away because our scholars have given us that feedback. And so it's a really cool opportunity to just shape the future of the program. And then we provide a lot of mentoring, myself in particular, but also all the members of our team. And then we also help you connect with other members in the space. We want you, or other mentors, I should say, we want you to be able to really just build a relationship with someone and get advice and ask questions that you have and sort of demystify what it might be like to work in DC or to work in policy. Okay. Some feedback from our alumni. Our alumni report leaving the program with better understanding of various career paths, some real history of how legislation and policy actually works, value of networking, specific tactical skills, increased confidence, sense of belonging. So these are all things alumni have reported of, and that's exactly our goals. This list really defines our goals for the summer, is that you would leave agreeing that you have a better understanding of all of these things. So just a quick refresher on what the application requires. It is an online application. You need to submit 2 references. One must be an academic reference. And then we have 1 short answer question and 1 video question response. We are also looking for financial aid award letters from undergraduate students, and then from graduate students, not only your financial aid award letter from your senior year, but also your most recent student aid report. So these are details on our website. You can reach out to us via email too if you're not quite sure if a document works or where to find something. We can help with that and we can confirm we've received all that. But this is important that we have that documentation. And again, February 23rd is the deadline. Okay, I am going to attempt to play a very short little video so you can hear some other voices of our alumni before we wrap up and see if you have any questions. So let me see if I can successfully do this.
If you're hesitant about applying to the PMPI Summer Scholars Program, don't be. It is an experience that you will never find anywhere else.
As a summer scholar, you get to be a part of an amazing team where you're working, but it doesn't necessarily feel like work. You're researching, you're writing.
You get the chance to meet folks from all over in the policy sector, from think tanks, from nonprofits to folks on the Hill.
Attend policy briefs to do feature reports.
Your work matters because it's going to a place where it's informing someone that wouldn't have necessarily known anything about higher education or about a really specific niche topic. So not only do you get to work with a purpose during the day, but at night you're able to really immerse yourself in the DC area.
You get to enjoy the food.
You'll be able to go for a run around the memorial.
The awesome museums.
Being in a place with so much history, you just become a better person because of it.
So if you want an opportunity to be in DC and you have a passion and strong desire for a better understanding of policymaking, if you love education, if you see yourself in the educational space, go ahead and submit the application, and I promise you, you will not regret it.
And it's an opportunity that you don't want to let pass you by. So apply.
Oh, I love that video because I love seeing all those faces and voices come back. All right, I hope that you can still see slides. It looks like there was some confusion in the chat, but we will also be happy to share the slide deck and the recording if you had any technical issues. So quickly reviewing some demographics here about our alumni, because I think it's important to realize, you know, how we are not looking for a particular profile of student. We've had such a diversity of applicants and an incredible diversity of actual scholars. So the slightly over half have been women. The majority have represented communities of color. We have more scholars who have attended public 4 years, but about a third have attended private 4-year institutions. We've had slightly more graduate students than undergraduates, but not by much. We've had a pretty good geographic diversity. Maybe you West Coasters are in the minority there, but we've had East Coast institutional representation, Midwestern, South, and West Coast. And there's a list of the states that our former scholars have represented. So we are proud to have such a diverse alumni base. And I also want to encourage you just to realize that you fit in within there. You know, this is not a program just for Ivy League students, and yet we have had Ivy League scholars. But this is a program really just for someone who's interested in post-secondary policy and DC and learning. Okay, quickly, people always are curious where our alumni end up. We have just some basic overview on the screen here, but most of our scholars are working in higher ed policy, or they're still students and studying higher ed policy. They've gone to get PhDs and et cetera, which is great. That there's the breakdown there in terms of working or studying. We have now it's actually just officially up to 2 alumni who have entered the Presidential Management Fellow Program, which is an extremely prestigious fellowship program. We have a alumni who sits on our board of directors, and we have 2 alumni as full-time staff at PMPI, which is incredibly exciting. We love the fact that we could bring scholars back and onboard them as full-time staff. So we're happy and proud to see where everybody has ended up. Okay, that is all I have formally. I'm going to actually stop sharing. And Leah's going to help me with Q&A if you have any. You've been active in the chat, so if you want to put questions in the chat, feel free, but you can also use the Q&A function. If there's something on your mind, you want to hear more about something in particular, you want clarity on something, you want us to Leah, can talk about her experiences as well if you'd like to hear that. But this time is for you to make sure you fully understand the program and what you might be getting into. Leah, why don't you start? You want to share a little bit. So a question we get all the time is sort of what's a day in the life like? And I try to answer it more like what's a week in the life like, because I think day to day is so different. But do you maybe want to share a little bit, Leah, about like if there was a typical week for you last summer, what was that like?
Yeah, like you said, with PNPI, it changes so much. One of my favorite things about the program was that it's flexible to what you want out of it. For example, I always knew that I wanted to go somewhere with law, not specifically knowing if it was more on the policy side, if I want to go traditional route into law school, not sure, but knowing that I wanted insight into the legal aspect of it. And that was something that I let Betsy know at the beginning of the program. And so they already had set out people that they wanted us to meet through the program, just PNPI contacts, because they have a vast network of people all over DC and even some outside of DC. But with that regular schedule, she was able to go out and look into their networks and look into even the people that others knew in their network and add specific connections that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten if I didn't share with them or if they didn't take the initiative to ask me what specifically I was interested in. So although you come in with another summer scholar, if y'all have interests that diverge and go in different ways, you are able to personalize the summer to more of where you see yourself in the future. So that was something that I really took advantage of, and I made some connections that I still have to this day, even being out of the program since summer.
How much of your week would you say, Leah, you spent at an event or at a networking meeting?
Networking meetings are every day. You're gonna have a networking meeting pretty much every day, if not 3 to 4 out of 5 days of the week. And some of those days it'll be more, it'll be back to back. You may have 2 or 3 in different parts of the city. You may have one on Zoom in between, 2 in-person ones. And then some of them it might be lighter. And then as far as events, you're gonna have a couple a week. Some of them, they're going to be in different places. Sometimes we were in the Capitol building. Sometimes we were online. Sometimes we were in spaces that are well known across DC. And then that was another part where it depends on how much you want out of the program. Because sometimes my other summer scholar and I, we would see specific events that we wanted to do that were already on the schedule. And we could either go through PNPI if we needed their help, or we were free to sign up on our own and go do those events during our free time.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a lot. I think that always surprises people. We try to structure it and it depends because we can't control when everything happens. But, 2 days maybe as office days, but you still might have a meeting here or there, a networking meeting event, and then the other 3 days sort of out and about. So to the best of our ability, we try to do that if we can. All right, let's see. I see some questions coming in. Actually, Leah, related, there's a question for you. What was your biggest takeaway from your time in the program?
That's a good question. I would say there are multiple. There are multiple, but I would say one of the biggest takeaways that I got was maybe where ed policy is now and where I can see myself fitting into it in the future. I think one of the biggest things coming into PNPI was that I was one of those ed majors and I didn't know much about policy. So to I really wanted to leverage what I knew about education and then get the foundational knowledge of policy from PNPI. And so they gave me that. And through the networking meetings and through the different events that I was able to go to, I saw different spaces where I knew I could see myself and different spaces where I knew that my skills probably wouldn't align as much. So it gave me a better sense of where I see myself going career-wise, which was important because I was an undergraduate senior going into a master's program at Howard. So it was important for me to start narrowing down exactly where I think I want to go so I can make my next moves.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We've often heard from alumni that they really learn what they didn't want to do as much as what they did, and that can be incredibly valuable, right? All right, getting back into questions too. Someone asked how the program has changed over time. So each summer has looked a little different, and if you will, we connect our scholars with alumni throughout the summer, so you'll get a feel for that. But we started off, we just didn't have as much, in the program as we do now. So, we have tried to, we have way more networking meetings than we ever did at the beginning. We've developed other side projects, like scholars have wanted some experience writing a memo, a policy memo. They wanted to get feedback on a resume or a writing sample for a job. So we sort of have a mock, we've offered a mock job application process before. We do shadows. We occasionally, we didn't used to do, now we can do half day or even full day shadows if scholars are interested, where you might go spend a day on the Hill or spend a few hours, with someone in the field. We do more writing than we ever did. It's just more. I think that's really the big thing that has changed about the program, based on really that all of those things came from scholars. Those were all their ideas, things they wanted to adjust. And so we're able to just build that into the program. See a question about how much this opportunity is virtual, remote, hybrid, in person. So the first 2 weeks are virtual. So you will be wherever you will be, and we will connect like this on Zoom. And you'll do a lot of the orientation and training. And then the 8 weeks, the second 8 weeks, I guess the 8 weeks that follow, you would be in person in DC. We would provide travel. We provide travel to DC. So whether that's a train or a plane, we book your ticket, cover an Uber to the airport, get you here and get you into your housing. The housing is usually at George Washington University. They have housing for summer interns. Can't always guarantee that, but that's our goal every summer. But regardless, we will arrange for housing. How competitive is the Summer Scholars Program? That's a tough one. It is very competitive. So we initially, we probably take maybe 10 to 15% of applicants in a first cut, and then do a screening call. So we sort of do a first round phone interview, and then we maybe cut that in half to do a Zoom interview with members of the team. And then, we're usually down to maybe 3 or 4 at that point. So it's a competitive process, but I just want to encourage everyone to apply, because we've just had the most surprising and amazing applicants come through. So there are 3 rounds that we do make cuts for applicants. So we do consider it pretty competitive, if that helps.
Yeah, and I would say don't let it being competitive in any right keep you from applying, because I was one of those people coming in where I did not think I would stack up. Like some of these people probably have been knowing that they wanted to do policy coming into undergrad and have 4 years of experience off rip, but it was through being authentic, being upfront about everything that I could provide and spaces where I might have gaps. I think that really helped me to connect during their interviews.
That's a great point. Agreed. I saw a question in the chat. How might PMPI support applicants with experience in K-12 policy but want to delve into higher ed? That's honestly very common. And that applicants have more experience in K-12, but also just the world of ed policy, there are just more people in K-12. So we know our higher ed people are rarer. And the goal of the program is to help introduce you to that space. So there's no prior experience needed in anything to do with higher ed policy. What we look for is an interest, right? And so we can help you understand the systems. We can help connect you with folks who work in those systems. We can give you a good sense of how the legislative side of higher ed policy works, the statutory side from the Department of Education, how that works. So we can really sort of provide you with all the context of what federal higher education policy is in a summer, and no need to know anything coming in. I will also say though, some folks have an interest in more of this like PK-16 continuum, and that is okay too. There's some really there's amazing work going on in the K-12 space. So that doesn't mean that there isn't a great briefing or event that might overlap or that might be really interesting to you and valuable. And, we're very flexible in that way.
Yeah, you'll also see, because I come from that K through 12 background, coming from a family of, my mom is an educator and I did that for about 6 years through high school and undergrad, you'll see that a lot of it translates way more than you would think it is because the systems function as far as in the classroom function a lot the same. So a lot of that information that you already know, you will be able to translate it, and then you'll learn just the more technical in the weeds type of things if you want to on the PMPI side of it.
I'm gonna skip and then let you take the last question, Leah, but do you have recommendations for the types of references you're looking for? Curious if I should choose faculty I'm working with on research or reach out to my old internship team. We do ask that one reference is an academic reference, but the other one can be anything you want. And that might be someone who can speak to your ability to work on a team, your ability to communicate, your ability to sort of dive in, be self-motivated. So I think a workplace reference would be great. A former intern reference, if you did an internship somewhere, would be great. But we've just had like the gamut of references. So, I want to talk to someone who can speak to, how you're going to approach this kind of job, the kind of energy you bring to it, how you deal with new things, how you deal with things that are outside your comfort zone. And that could be a lot of different kinds of people. All right, Leah, what was your most not so obvious memorable experience? I love that
I've
question.
been looking at this question, cause that's a great question. No one's asked me that. Believe it or not, y'all, and I'm really not playing. My text is coming out. I'm talking about y'all. Believe it or not, it's the PMPI meetings. Whether that be it's something we do every Monday called Scrum, and the people who are brought on get to see it. The way that PMPI does meetings is just so different from everyone else. Everything that you would dislike about a meeting, like them being long-winded or they could have put it in an email, that's not what you're going to get in the PMPI meetings. Actually, I can't explain it. I want y'all to experience it when you get to experience it. But the way that they do it and the way that each of them start with just a point of connecting with each other kind of encapsulates what PMPI is as a whole, which is not necessarily familial, but you connect. Like we connect on real human levels, and that makes the work that we do so much more meaningful. And it makes you connect to not just the people, but the work and the teamwork and the helping each other through learning at the same time. So I would definitely say the meeting structure, thank God, since I work here, is my favorite part.
That is so kind to say. It is something that we think a lot about, to be honest, is how we gather, right? How are we, when we are together, how do we make the most of that time? So that's great. Those were some amazing questions, but we can hang on if there's any others. While you're thinking, I'll just remind everybody that all of this information is on the website. So dig into that. We'll put the recording up as well. We'll share the slides as well to everyone who registered. And then we are always available via email if you have other kinds of questions. So never hesitate to reach out. We love hearing from applicants. We love answering your questions. So just know that we are there, even if you have questions after tonight. I hope to see all of your names pop up in our applicant list. Again, this is a labor of love by the PMPI team and staff. It is a lot of fun. And I love to see folks who are interested in coming to DC and doing good work, because we just need you all in this space, however you get there. And so please, even if it's not through this program, stay connected with PMPI. So that we can sort of just be a part of your journey, whether that's attending other events, or we have scholarships for almost all of our events, so you can apply for other kinds of scholarships. Just please keep us in mind as a resource, because we are really invested in getting you all into this space. I will put we will send out the deck, Elliot, thanks for that question. So we will email it out to everyone who registered, but then we'll also share it on the website along with the recording. All right, final opportunity for any last minute questions. You are also welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending some of your night with us. Reach out if we can help you, but thank you all for being here. Good night.